one. Hey everybody, so it's Matt and I'm back, and hopefully everybody has their capo. Now we're going to move on and talk about capos, obviously. So Glenn Campbell, who's a famous, early rock and roll but really country music Hall of Famer legend, he played for a session group. How he got started is he played with a session group out in Los Angeles called the Wrecking Crew, and there's wonderful documentary on the Wrecking Crew on Netflix or something like that. But anyway, Glenn Campbell had songs, Galveston and Rhinestone Cowboy and all this kind of stuff. But what a lot of people don't know is he played on all the early Beach Boys stuff, the if everybody, all those kind of things. And I seen him in an interview. I say all this to say this. I seen him in an interview once, and he talked about, they were asking him, how did you get so much work back then? And he said, because I was one of the only guys using this little gadget, willing to do that in the studio, which is kind of a studio musician inside joke about using capos. But anyway, so the capo, and all it simply does is, we've learned all these chords based off having open strings. So for example, when we had that G chord we learned, that's basically a G triad right there. Just those three notes. Because this nut, the nut of the guitar right here, is there. So all this thing does is acts like that nut, and it allows us to move it up and down the fretboard. Okay? So I'm going to try to show you how and tell you how to reference where you're at based off the number system and based how I kind of still to this day think about it. But I'll tell you this, don't overthink it. I'm just going to try to give you a reference. The reason it's so important is because it allows you to use the chords you already know, and you really aren't going to need many more chords at all. That's the beautiful thing. And but let's say you're wanting to sing, Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. But maybe it's too low or too high. It's out of your range, or the person you're accompanying can't sing it. Well, we can take this, move it anywhere. Ooh, that's still too high, let's say. Amazing. Now we can go down. You get the point. It allows us to move this thing. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. And so on and so forth. The point is, it allows you to play the same chords, and the numbers never change. So in other words, if we move this up and we're playing here, which I'm going to show you in a minute, now makes this G position an actual A, because the root note is this A note. Now we're doing, even though we're playing these same positions, we're actually playing in A. And that's the nice thing, okay? The other thing you need to get, and you probably have figured this out by now, is, I'm going to set this on my leg because I'm going to grab it a lot. If you're practicing through these chords, and we kind of in the instruction always said that G is the one. Well, remember guys, maybe you want to sing your song in C. So that would make it C, F, and G. Remember, if you haven't figured it out, kind of your aha moment here is whatever key you're singing in is the one. So if I'm going to sing Amazing Grace, maybe that key is right for me, then that's the one. Well, how do I know what chords I need to play? Well, C, D, E, F. So I know F is the 4. F, G. G's the 5. Is that sinking in? If we're in D, maybe that's the right key. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Maybe that's the right key for you, for whatever song you're playing. D's the one, so D, E, F, G would be the 4. G, A would be the 5. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved the wretch like me I once, and so on and so forth. Hopefully that's making sense for you. So everything stays the same as you move up the keyboard, or move up the fretboard. I'm not teaching piano here. So here, let me tell you now, all that said, let me show you or tell you how my brain thinks when I use this capo. So sometimes it's easier to visualize a piano because, as we're walking up the fretboard, we know that that's an E. So we know, just go in the letters E, F, right? And you have to think like a piano. So an F, then there's a black key, then it's G, okay? So this F sharp right here on a piano is a black key. So E, F. Now remember, between E and F, there's no black key on a piano. And that's the easiest way to visualize it, okay? So if you got a picture of a piano, and I'll tell you what, I'll throw one in the deal, or in the above me here so you can reference that. So E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and remember a G sharp or A flat. Since I'm going up, I'm saying G sharp. I would normally refer to that as an A flat. It doesn't matter, okay? So G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, C, and so on and so forth, okay? So the way you reference this is, remember, if this is G, 1, 2, and then count where that nut is. So I know if that's G, that nut is basically 2 frets behind where I'm wanting to play, okay? So if I want to play an A, I've got to replace that nut, 1, 2, and then put it on the 3rd. So in other words, G, I'm going to go 1, 2, and then replace it on the next fret. That's the nut. So if I want to play an A, I'm going to put it on the 2nd fret. Okay? And I'll tell you this, when you put these on, you want to make sure that you don't slant any strings, put them on where it's straight, and then kind of push down on the strings like this. That way if anything's catching, it's in tune. So now I'm on A, I'm going to play this A position. Remember, A, that's my root note in that G. That's just how my brain thinks. So when I look at this, I see an A, even though that's a G position. 1, 2, boom, I put the capo. Okay? So now I could play an A. Or I could play in any key. So let's just get this down, okay? So let's say I wanted to play in B. Well, A, B. So B's that 7th fret. So if I want to play in that position, I got to go, there's my note, 1, 2, put the capo on the next fret. Okay? Now we're in B. Okay? So on and so forth. If I want to play in D, and when I say play in D, I mean if I want to play in D using the G position, using that G position, okay? Well, I know that that's a D note on the 10th fret if I use the G position. So 1, 2, boom, put the capo. And see, it gives you a... Listen to the difference in that sound. Sometimes you just want a different sound in this. They're both pretty, but maybe the song, even though you want to play it in the same key, just gives you a different sound, and maybe that's what you're looking for. Or maybe you play better out of the key of G. Maybe you can make your changes better. The wonderful thing about music, guys, and playing any instrument, but especially guitar, it's all what you're comfortable with. That's why this thing can get you playing so fast, because maybe some of you make that change. Maybe you can play in C better for whatever reason. You play out of that C position. Well, let's look at that position. If that's a C, okay, remember that top note is my root note, so that is a C note. So just like the top string, guys, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Okay, it just goes up. The difference here is that back finger's on that first fret, then it's the nut. So let's say we want to play using a C position, but we want to sing in D, in dog. Well, that's going to be up 2 frets here, okay? So we know, okay, there's my pinky, just like it was here, and there's the nut. There's my pinky, so we know we got to place that capo here. Now I'm in D. Hear that little, I don't know if you can hear that little bit of buzz. That's why you kind of got to, if you hear that, get your capo on straight. You don't want to like force it down where your strings are, because remember, you move that string, it changes the pitch of the note and you'll sound out of tune. But there is a D in the C position. Okay? So look, D. We take that capo. Or maybe we want to go up here and play it here. All those are right. However you want to do it. Is that making sense to you? I hope it does. The other way, and guys, so listen, it works. Maybe you play out of the D position better. Well, remember, it works anywhere. All you're doing is replacing this. So I'd look at this D, okay, and know, okay, here, open fret, and I got to put the capo. So let's say I want to play in E, but and making that B is hard. You know, you want to do some, I don't know, Johnny Cash. I hear that train a-coming. It's rolling around the bend. I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison. And maybe that A and then that going to that B is just too hard for you. But you can do it out of that D or that E, that D position. Well, we know 2 frets up is going to make that an E. Whole fret. So basically from your last finger, we're going to count how many frets, and that nut counts. So 1, put it. So if this is an E, fret, put it. So I'm going to put that capo right here. I'm sorry. I can play guitar, I promise. Don't forget the white keys we talked about. So there's a D, D sharp, that E would be there. Okay, so 1, boom. Put the capo. See, I have to think about it too sometimes. I hear that train a-coming. It's rolling round the bend. So we're playing in the D position. I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison. Now remember, what do we already know that chord is? It's the A, right? We're in a G position, but A, all this stuff should click how easy this is. So, in other words, you can also memorize, you don't have to go, okay, I know that's a D and I got to put the capo here. I'm just showing you how to do that. Here's the cool thing. Remember your 1, 4, 5 or 1, 2, 3. So in other words, if you're like, well, I like to play that A position here. But maybe I want to play an E, but I don't want to have to play an E down here. Well, we know E is the 5 chord of what key? Well, it'd be the 5 chord, and you can look at your chart or look at your sheet, but you should, have this. It's the 5 of A. So A, B, C, D, E. So if I want to play in E, I know out of my A position, if E is my 5, I already know for that A position that my capo goes here. Boom, now I know I'm in E. E just becomes my 1. The math is still the same. I hope I'm explaining that good for you. I promise, don't overthink it. Just whatever letter you have becomes the 1. If I want to sing in D, well, I know it's right there because D's the 4 if I'm in A. That makes sense? It's really, really, really simple. Don't overthink it. So again, it's wherever you're comfortable playing, whatever position is easiest for you. A lot of people like G. Some people they can make those changes better. Some people can make those changes better. The beauty of it is you know all the chords to play thousands of songs right now. You just have to transpose them where it's in your vocal range or the person you're accompanying's vocal range or whatever. Some people just like to do it. Let me give you an example. Sometimes it's just prettier is what I was going to say, but let's take like the Beatles, for example. Like the song, let's see. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun. Sounds great, right? But the Beatles thought, well, I really think it'd sound prettier if I did it up here. So I'm doing the same thing, but listen to the difference. All right? See the difference? Sometimes it just sounds prettier. I'm just kind of strumming. But maybe I can just randomly put this anywhere, but get an idea where you're going. Maybe I want to do that out of the G position, but in C. Gives it a whole different sound. Okay? Gives it a whole different sound. But learning where to put that is best. And just remember, whatever chord you do down here, so if it's a B, that B we learn, wherever that last finger is, so I know if I want to play out of that position, I've got to put that capo, right there in the fret before. Okay? Same with E. Well, that last finger is on that fret, so we know wherever we put this capo, it's got to be right there, okay? So if I want to play, the cool thing is, with E, that top string is open, and we're playing an E, so we know out of the E position, wherever this capo is, so let's say I put it on the 3rd fret there, we know that top string is a G, so that means when I hit that E, I'm actually in G. And we're going to learn later when we do bar chords that our finger is going to become this capo. So for example, if this is an E, Remember, I just put the capo here. I'm just going to use that finger. If I move up, there's my A. Remember that B? Here's a C. Here's a D. E. The reason I don't show that now, I mean, I kind of did show you, teased you a little, is it again, guys, it takes some getting used to with your fingers. And a lot of times in guitar, we want those pretty, listen to the difference in this. We want those pretty open strings a lot of times. So listen to the difference. Now listen to the difference. Let's play an E, but I'm going to play it out of the D position. See, it's just a different sound and different things, and you'll learn little different nuances of little trills, little things you'll start to develop. Like some of you probably already noticed, when I play a G, a lot of times I don't even have that finger on there. I'm not even hitting that note. But that's because, hear that? I just naturally, I mute it and don't even know it. Again, nothing, it's not right, it's not wrong. It's whatever sounds good for what you're playing and whatever you're comfortable with. Okay? So guys, that's the capo. If you have questions, let me know. At its core, just remember, watch where your hands are, count where you need to put this, and play. All right? Hope that helped. Let's get to the next lesson. Thanks.